All right, we are back at Santa today. Got my beeswax bliss that I love. I like thread heaven as well, but I think I like beeswax a bit better only because of the scent. Just love that scent. It is Friday again, and I am actually recording this on Friday morning for Friday Off the Grid. And as you can see, I've made a little bit of progress on my Woodland Santas since the last time I worked on this project for a Stitch With Me. Not very much, but like I said before, I am determined to finish this one before it comes off my floor frame. And because I don't have a lot of stitching time, well, it's probably going to take me a little bit longer than I had hoped, but that's all good. Every stitch counts. So, welcome back. I didn't record a Stitch With Me last week because I was away at my local stitching retreat. Had a lovely time with my friends. But I do always feel just a little bit, I think it's a little bit of obsessive compulsive not having that video sort of in that spot where it belongs, because it feels like last Friday's missing a video, if that makes sense to you. Anyways, I had a question, a lovely question actually, a great question from a fairly new cross stitcher, and I'm sorry I can't remember your name, so I hope you're watching. She asked me why I changed the direction of my cross when I go backward. Like because I stitch if I have a color block, I will stitch in rows. So I'll stitch to the right and then I'll move up a row and I'll stitch to the left. And I also prefer to complete my crosses as I go. And so I'm assuming that her question is, instead of, because I'm now traveling to the left, why am I changing the direction of my top leg? I'm going to come in at the bottom right. Not sure you can see my needle there. And then I'm going to come down in the top left. Whereas when I was traveling to the right, I came up on the top left and went down to the bottom right for my top leg. So the direction of my top leg stays the same, but where I bring my needle up changes. And she wanted to know why I did that. Well, the reason I do that is because it conserves floss. I always tend to choose, or try to choose, the path of least resistance. So the shortest distance possible that will achieve the neatest, tidiest stitch is going to be the path that I choose. Excuse me. So when I'm traveling to the left, my top leg will start on the bottom right and travel to the top left. And I'm going to zip across to the side so that I can start my next row to the right. And then you'll see what I mean. And I'm pretty consistent with this across the board with all of my stitching. Doesn't matter if it's cotton or variegated. Sometimes I will do one leg at a time if I have to travel. For example, you can see the leg of this toy doll because I was over here where I started and I worked full cross all the way up. I worked across over to here, to the left, but then I still had one row to do above. and I wanted to end up over here so that I could end my thread in the bulk of the stitching. So I did one leg of the cross all the way down to here, and then worked my way back up so that I could then do full crosses across the top of the bottom of the shirt of the doll, and then I could end my thread over here, tucking it in neatly, sewing it in the back neatly back there. Just gives you a bit more thread to anchor your stitches. So I'm usually looking around at what I have available, and things change depending on where I'm working, what color I'm working with, etc. Okay, so I'm going to be going up a row now and traveling to the right. So my bottom leg, instead of starting at the bottom left and traveling to the top right, I'm going to be starting at the top right and going in at the bottom left. And then my top leg, because I'm traveling to the right, my top leg is now going to start at the top left and move to the bottom right. And I have no idea if this is the wrong way to stitch, if there is the correct and proper way to stitch that isn't this way. This is just the way I've always done it, and I achieve the effect that I want, that I like. I feel like my stitching is neat enough for me, for my purposes, and it suits my penchant for making a length of floss last for as many stitches as I possibly can. So I hope that made sense. I hope that explanation made sense. I thought it was a great question. As you can see, I posted some video footage of what's going on outside my window this morning. Very exciting. It is it's London's very first snow of the season. Other parts of Ontario have had their first snow already. We were a little bit left out in the last few rounds of early snow, but we are there now. Okay, so I have to figure out here at some point the strap of the toy sack. I think I'm at where I need to be beside the last one that goes right over is beside the 3. Okay, so this is my last stitch in this column, because the strap of the toy sack is going to start back up here to come around the shoulder. So now we're going to do some Santa shoulder shaping. How's that for a little tongue twister this morning? Santa shoulder shaping. And we're going to go one less all the way up. Okay. I think I've got this figured out. So yes, the first snow of the season is always a bit of an exciting time. It's quite cold outside, but it's that fresh chill that smells like it's a very Gilmore Girls thing to say that it smells like snow, but there's a reason they wrote that. There's a reason the writers wrote that into the script, because it's true. Snow does have a smell, and the first snow is just a little bit special for those who enjoy the white stuff. There was a conversation amongst the podcast girls this morning, the Fiber Friends, the knitting podcast that I'm a member of, and our girlfriends from Sarnia, Ontario, the Codependent Knitters. We all sort of have a group chat on WhatsApp, and there was some complaining this morning going on about the snow, but no complaints from me. Happy as a clam. So it is 9 a.m. on a Friday morning. My husband is home today, and I'll be heading out a little bit later this morning to go and see my fiber friends, and we will be recording a podcast this afternoon. So there will most likely be some grumbling about the snow from Adrian, who does not appreciate snow or Christmas, and Louise, my other friend, who tends to be a little bit more like me, and we like to get into the holiday spirit a little bit early. So I think I have just these 3 stitches left, and then Santa has a shoulder. And I'm right at the end of this thread as well. So that worked out well. So if you're new here, if you're new to the channel, if you're new to a Stitch With Me video, this is just our chance to, well, it's mostly my chance to sit down and stitch and chat and hang out. Frankly, I record these videos. Oh, a big part of recording these videos is really for me. I love doing it. It means that I get to sit down and just have a little visit. I'm sorry, if you're new here and you haven't seen this project a million times already, I will share this for you. This is the Prairie Schooler, book 96, Woodland Santas. I have stitched the one with the pheasants already. I'm doing this horizontally, so I've already stitched the one with the pheasants. Appears, you can just see the top of Santa's head right there. And then, of course, this is the second pattern that I'm stitching, and I will be moving on to the wolf next. And then Santa's sleigh will be at the very top of my panel. I'm stitching this on a 32 count natural linen, and I'm using plain old DMC, which, let's face it, DMC and Prairie Schooler go hand in hand. All right, so I think that the next thing I'm going to add in there is Santa's the strap of the bag. We'll go from there. I am using I'm going to put a picture in here actually from their website of the type of floor frame that I use. It's a question I receive a lot, and I totally understand why. And I never, ever, ever mind people asking me what kind of stand I use. I will answer this question a million times and never once be bothered by it, because our tools are important, and having good tools is just such a pleasure. And this tool that I have for my stitching is sort of the Rolls Royce of stitching frames. It is a Mark II floor frame from Hearthside Craftworks. They are a small family-owned business in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and they do ship their products all over the world. I know that my friend from Newfoundland, Patty, just yesterday ordered herself a lap frame from them, and she was able to speak with the owner on the phone, and they had a nice conversation. He said that they were very busy, which I love to hear. I love to hear that about a company that makes a good product, that they're busy. I hope that means that they're doing really well and that they're going to be in business for a really long time. So my floor frame is the Mark II floor frame. I've had it for at least 10 years, and I use it daily. And it holds up. It has held up beautifully. It's made of solid oak. I'm just gonna move this over so you can see. This is the mechanism at the side. And so it is a beautiful swivel mechanism here. And there's a spring-loaded clip at the side, which means that I'm able to flip this back and forth easily, no problems. I absolutely love it. It is not cheap. It is certainly not a cheap frame. However, if you are a voracious stitcher and it's not a fly-by-night hobby for you, I think it's an investment that's worthy of your pennies. Mine has paid for itself many times over, and I love it. So, and they have no idea who I am. They have no idea who I am. I don't work for the company. I don't have any, this is not an advertisement. I love my frame. Love it. To top of Santa's shoulder. Here we go. So again, I will put a picture in of both their website photo, and I will put their contact information in the drop-down box below in case you're interested. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip under, and because I like to have things nice and secure, I'm going to anchor my floss and carry on the other side of the shoulder. Now there's a Christmas tree coming out of the background behind Santa's toy sack here, so I have to watch my counting on the bag part here, so you may hear some counting going on. One more over the hat, and let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There should be 6. Should be 6. Let's see if we can count to 6. Are we straight in the frame here? I think we are. I think you've got a nice picture. I'm using one of my new needle minders. My sock. This is one of the choices of needle minders that's going out in the holiday Evertote kit. I used a smaller magnet on the sock. The Christmas tree magnet has a bigger magnet because it had a wider base, but because the sock was narrow, I chose I believe this is a 6mm magnet, and it's a rare earth magnet. It's a rare earth refrigerator magnet. So even though it's small, it's still very, very strong. So anyways, you shouldn't keep your magnet on your project, though I do tend to do that, but you're not supposed to. You are supposed to remove your needle magnet from your project after stitching. But disclaimer, I don't usually do it. I usually just leave it on. All right, we're still counting to 6 here. There we go. All right, and as you can see, I found the DMC for the skin that Prairie Schooler charted. What was the color number? It was 3773. So 3773 is the one that they use for Santa's skin tone. You know, obviously, I like to see people change it up. I'm lazy, so I just left it the way it was. And when I looked at it in the skein, I thought, looks like it looked a bit too peachy. But then I realized that I must have used it down here for the original Santa. So I thought, well, better be consistent. And then when I put it in, I thought, oh, I can live with that. My skin tone is B5200. So if I wanted to make a Santa who looked like me, then I would have to use B5200, and then it wouldn't differentiate between his beard. So there's that. I have pale skin. Probably because I don't go outside much. 1, 2, 3. Uh-oh. Well, I think I'm okay. It's hard to count these when the symbols are large next to another large dark symbol. Sometimes it's a bit difficult to read them. Okay, so over 2 and then 1 less. That should do it. Look at that. We are going over top of Santa's shoulder. Excuse me. Okay. So, I hope everybody's been having a good week. It's been a whirlwind around here. I think I'm still trying to catch up from not sleeping very much at the retreat. I tend to do that. I tend to be one of the last people awake. And not that it's a badge of honor or anything. It's just that I just don't want to go to bed. I don't want it to end. And I will stay up. I think we went to bed at 2:30. The stitching room, we have the key to it. So whoever is the last one up at night takes the key up to the front desk. And the place where we stay, they're tremendously accommodating. It's a wonderful little inn. And I didn't sleep well. I didn't sleep a lot. That combined with the excitement of releasing the kit last week and then trying to get all of that work done this week. And, my daughter was supposed to be able to help me with the packaging this week, and she really hasn't had the time to do that. So I am a little bit behind where I was hoping to be at this point with getting those kits out into the mail. And so, it's going to be a full weekend, but no complaints because it's pretty wonderful work. So I'm not complaining. It's just, I blinked. It seems like yesterday. It was a week ago. And here we are again, Friday already. Well into November. I better count this. This is the last one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, and then his toy sack is done. 5 stitches. Can I do it with the amount of thread I have left? I only have to do 2 more. Totally can do it. been watching lots of FlossTube this week. I have been listening to my audiobook. Nothing really to write home about, so and frankly, so I'm not going to recommend it because it hasn't really been holding my attention enough to, it's kind of just more been white noise in my ears. But it's something to listen to. I've been watching Gilmore Girls again. I tend to like to put it on when I'm sewing because I know the show so well. Then I can just listen and enjoy while I'm sewing, which is quite nice. Look at that. The Santa, his toy sack is done because over here there's a tree growing out of it. Opinions, please, because I think, do you see this little toy ball here? Can you see it? I'll bring it up here. It's right there by the doll's foot. I'm thinking of leaving that out. I'm thinking of leaving it out. It would sit right here, and I don't know, it just seems unnecessary, and I don't think it would really go well with my gold horn. So I think I'm going to just leave it out. We'll see. Okay, so there's a little bit more of the rain here, the reindeer's reins that Santa is holding, and also maybe I'll do the cuff, the other cuff on Santa's sleeve. So let's figure out what color that is. 611. 611. That is the one. Remember, I almost forgot to put in here beside his beard. It's the fur trim on his coat. So that's 611. And go. My hands are very dry. Very dry. I feel like I should rub this beeswax all into my cuticles. Not just for the thread. For your hands as well. At least they would smell well. They would smell good. They would smell well. It is Friday. I think I was talking like this on Monday too. So boy, it's been a week. There we go. That's better. Okay, I'm just going to pause you for just a moment, and I just need to grab my tea. Okay, I'm drinking Christmas in Paris tea today, which is a stash holiday tea, and I found this on Amazon because I've mentioned it before, and I had some viewers write in because I was buying this at our local bulk store here, and they would only bring it out at Christmas time, and so I would wait all year long, and then I would basically buy the store out of all the tea that they have because I like to drink it year round. To me, this tea sort of smells like an after 8 mint. So it's chocolatey and minty, and I love it. I love it. It's one of my favorites. So again, it's a stash holiday tea. It's called Christmas in Paris, and it's a cup of joy, literally. And I'm drinking this in my, I know, right over my stitching. Don't do this at home. It's my I make things mug. And if I tip it to show you, well, then we really would have a disaster. So, anyways, that's what I'm drinking while we're visiting. And Santa needs a cuff. So I think 1, 3, 3, 3, 1. I think I can do this without the pattern. Let's see. See if we can trim his coat. without the pattern. I also finally filled in the eye socket around the reindeer's eye, so he doesn't look quite so odd. And I know Santa still doesn't have a head. He's been headless for over a year, but we're working on it. I think by next week he'll have a head. What do you think? Any bets? Anybody going to place any bets? I think that is so funny. Speaking of placing bets, and if you watch Michelle Bendy Stitchy, she is doing this wonderfully crazy, what does she call it again? Startpocalypse. She is starting all the things. Every other day, she is starting something new from now until I think the end of the year. And I love that because her goal is to not start anything new in 2019. And so in order to prepare for that, she is starting all the things now. And apparently there are bets being placed to see how long she lasts before she starts something new. I think, yeah, I did split that thread just a little bit there. It's not quite as neat and tidy into the corner as it could have been. But you know what? We're moving on. Three more. Some of these linen threads are thinner. They're a little on the thin side, and I have to be careful I get it in the right spot. Anyways, I know all about crazy new starts because I'm planning one of my own. In December, I am going to start a new ornament, a new stitched ornament every single day of the month. And I'm going to record it. It's going to be glorious. It's going to be so fun. I am so excited. I have my magazines ready to go. That looks wrong. Why does that look wrong? 3331. No, that's right. All right, we're going with it. Okay, so a new start every day in the month of December, but they are going to be smalls, little small ornaments every single day. And I received some fabric from my friend Carrie at the retreat. I plan on using that fabric. I'm going to prepare it all later in this month. I am going to go through all of my Just Cross Stitch magazines, and I'm going to choose all the ornaments that I'd like to stitch. I am going to sub out colors willy-nilly and try to use this delicious box of Victorian Motto sampler Victorian Christmas threads that I purchased earlier. And what's missing is there's a few golds in here as well. So these are the threads that I'm going to concentrate on using for my crazy December start a day. And we have a name for it. And you heard it here first. We have a name for this craziness thanks to Heidi Cran from Stitching 1/2. And this came about last year when I was recording Vlogmas episodes, and Heidi and I were talking about it, and she said, "Oh, I've been thinking that I would want to do something like see, I keep trying to put my needle down here, but the magnet is up there. That would be helpful." She wanted to record Vlogmas episodes herself, but she was going to call it Flossmas. Get it? Flossmas? Isn't that the most amazing thing you've ever heard in your whole life? Flossmas. So and she said, I give it to you. I give it to you. You may use Flossmas. And so that's what we're going to call it. we're going to call doing a little video every day, starting an ornament every day, doing any little kind of crazy fun December holiday stitchy thing, whatever you want to do. There are no rules here. We're going to call it Flossmas. Merry Flossmas. And I can't wait. That is just, it's going to be so fun. Flossmas. Have you ever heard anything better? So Heidi Cran from Stitching 1/2. You can blame her. She named it. And I think it's going to stick. All right. Let's see. I think it's time to add a bit more to my tree. Maybe my tree? Or maybe I might come over here and start this tree and finish up that tree, because if I do that, then this entire left side is done once that tree is done. This is DMC 520. Very standard Prairie Schooler tree color. It's a lovely green. I'm sure, like me, most of you think in DMC colors as well. You can have a conversation with a fellow stitcher friend and you're talking about the color of something, and you can say, oh, well, it's more of a, 321 rather than a 3777. Right? Because we understand those numbers. Those numbers mean something. They mean color to us, which is kind of fun. It's really kind of fun. There we go. Beeswax is a little squeaky this morning. Just a little squeaky. All right, so we are starting in at the top here, on top of the doll's hat. I'm going to anchor this. I'm going to do the first 3 stitches in here, and then I think I'm going to have to get going. We have an appointment that we have to get to by 10:30, my husband and I, so I better get a wriggle on. I should count my stitches. I think there's 3. 3 of them go here. And I have started the top left corner. So I think the way that I'm going to work the rest of this is I'm going to go up and complete the top corner, and then I'm going to work my way across to complete this design. I think that will give me a real feeling of accomplishment to get that done. So what that means is I'll probably end up moving my scroll rods down a little bit. Okay, so I think, one more. Let's see. We'll come over here and do these ones. So here's a perfect example of what I was talking about earlier with only doing one leg of a stitch, because the legs of these trees come down and I want to choose the path of least resistance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a single leg. 2. Now wait a sec. No. This isn't right. Where is it? Yes, it is. Single leg all the way down to the bottom of this side of the tree branch. And then beside again, 2 more on top of the hat, like that. And then 2 more diagonal legs, and I'm going to bring this back up into that one, and then I'm gonna back up like that, right beside his little head. So he's tucked up in there. Now, I did say I would use the path of least resistance, but I also want it to look good. So I would try to come up in the bottom left, but I can tell when I'm trying to bring my needle up that there's quite a bit of bulk there. So in order for it to look as neat as possible, I'm gonna take a little bit longer leg. I'm gonna come in at the top left instead. And that is gonna give me a tidier stitch when I can go into the full hole instead of trying to come up through it. And I'm gonna do the same thing here. There. But now I'm going to see, that one went through easily. So I'll go this way for that one. This way for that one. So I'm a little bit all over the place. So I'm probably a terrible person to be showing anyone how to stitch, because I'm sure this isn't the right way to do it. But you know what? It's good enough for me. As long as it looks neat on the front, and I'm fairly particular about my back. As you can see, I don't have knots. I try to take care of those right away after they happen. I don't carry my threads a long distance. If I have to carry a thread, then I will generally tack it under some other stitching and secure it down. I just try to, work tidily, if that makes sense. Anyways, so above that grouping of 2, we're going to be working from here. So I'm going to bring my needle up where it needs to be for when I come back. And that's it for me. Time to carry on with my day. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Join us on the Facebook group, Friday Off the Grid, for some really inspiring, beautiful stitching and pretty great group of people. So I hope you get lots of stitching time this weekend, and I hope you get to enjoy some family time or time with friends or